Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources so you get the essentials. Today, we're diving into something that seems simple but isn't really land. Our mission. To unpack the core characteristics of real property and how it's legally described, very precisely. Think of this as your shortcut to getting these foundational ideas down. Okay, so let's start unpacking this. Land in real estate, it has these three fundamental physical traits. First, there's non-homogeneity or uniqueness.
Right.
Fingerprint, basically no two pieces of land are exactly the same. Each one's unique.
Makes sense. They all occupy a different space.
Exactly. Then immobility. This one's pretty obvious. You can't pick up your plot of land and move it, right? You have to go to the land. It's fixed, unchangeable location.
Absolutely fixed.
And finally, indestructibility. Durability. The land's essentially permanent.
Yeah, you can change what's on it, dig holes, build things.
But the land itself, it's always going to be there. It endures.
And what's really interesting is how those physical things, immobility, uniqueness, interact with us, with people, to create the economic characteristics.
Ah, okay, so human factors come in.
Big time. While the land doesn't change physically in those core ways, its value, its use, that's all markets and people. So, this brings us to four key economic characteristics. First up is scarcity.
Scarcity, right.
Land is definitely scarce where lots of people want it. It's often about geography. Think about a small lot in Manhattan versus a huge plot way upstate New York.
Totally different value proposition.
Exactly. Purely because of demand and limited supply in that specific desirable location. Then you've got modification.
Modification, like improvements.
Precisely. Improvements to the land or even to the land around it can massively impact its value and usefulness. New highway goes in nearby, maybe a big shopping center.
Or even just a nice park.
Yeah, exactly. It can totally change the property's worth. Next one is fixity. Land and any buildings or improvements on it, they're considered fixed investments. Permanent.
Meaning not liquid.
Not liquid at all. You can't just cash it in easily like stocks. It takes time to sell. And finally, Situs. This is a bit different. It's about location preference, but specifically from an economic view.
So not just where it is, but how much people want it to be there.
You got it. It's the desirability factor, and crucially, this perception can shift. Needs change, trends change, Situs changes.
That makes so much sense. But thinking about Situs, that perceived desirability, couldn't that kind of feed on itself, maybe create bubbles where places get valuable just because everyone believes they should be?
Oh, absolutely it can, and it does. That's kind of the engine behind speculative bubbles sometimes.
Yeah.
And understanding these economic drivers like Situs and scarcity really helps explain why prices move, why some areas boom.
And why others might stagnate.
Exactly. It's about anticipating future desirability, not just current.
Okay, so we have these unique, immovable things shaped by economics and perception. How in the world do you legally nail down which piece of unique land we're talking about? I mean, the description must have to be absolutely perfect, right, for a sale or something.
Spot on. That's where legal descriptions are critical. They have to be accurate. A surveyor creates it, and it needs to be so precise that, well, you could walk out there with the description and find the exact boundaries on the ground. No question.
Wow, okay. And I was wondering, if it's that vital for a sale, why isn't it needed for, say, a lease? What's the difference?
Good question. It's required for conveyances, deeds, sales contracts, things transferring ownership. Because ownership needs that absolute certainty. But a lease, that's just the right to use the property for a time, not own it.
Okay.
So the legal standard for the description isn't quite as stringent for it to be a valid lease agreement.
Yeah.
Interesting distinction, right?
Yeah, it really is. So how do they actually write these descriptions? I feel like I've heard of a really old method.
You probably have. The oldest is meets and bounds. Sounds old, right?
It does.
It uses terminal points, angles, compass directions, degrees, minutes, sometimes even seconds. Like plotting a course. The absolute key is the point of beginning, the POB. You start there, describe the boundary all the way around.
And you have to end up back exactly where you started.
Precisely. It has to form a complete closed shape, no gaps. And it often uses monuments as reference points. These could be man-made things like an iron pipe set by a surveyor, or even natural features like the old oak tree by the creek.
Huh. I can imagine the arguments over which oak tree.
Oh, I'm sure there were plenty. historically speaking. Now, besides meets and bounds, there are other systems. You've likely seen lot, block, and subdivision description.
From looking at property listings, like Lot 5, Block B.
Exactly that. Those come from recorded maps called plats, which show how a larger tract was divided up. Then there's the big one, especially in large parts of the U.S., the rectangular survey system, also called the government survey system. This one's pretty systematic. It uses baselines running east-west and meridians running north-south. Think of a giant grid laid over the land. This grid creates townships, which are typically 6 miles square.
6 miles square. Okay, that's large. How does it get more precise?
Right, so each township is further divided into 36 sections.
36 sections in a township. Got it.
And here's the key number. Each section is 1 square mile.
1 square mile. How many acres is that?
That is precisely 640 acres. Memorize that number. Section equals 640 acres.
640, okay.
So this is where the practical application, the aha moment, comes in for figuring out land size. Let's say you see a description like the N12 of the SE14 of Section 3.
Okay, N12 SE14.
Sounds complicated.
It looks it, but it's just division. You start with the whole section, 640 acres. Then you just divide by the denominators you see. So divide by 4 for the SE14.
Which is 160 acres.
Right. Then divide that by 2 for the N12.
160 divided by 2.80 acres.
Exactly, 80 acres. It's designed to be super clear, super precise. That level of detail,
right,
that's what makes the whole system work legally, avoids confusion.
Absolutely. It ensures everyone knows exactly what piece of unique land is being bought, sold, or owned. No ambiguity.
Wow. So we've really journeyed from the ground up today, haven't we? From the physical dirt, its uniqueness, immobility, permanence, to the powerful economic forces like scarcity and location preference that shapes its value.
Yeah, modification and Situs.
And finally, these incredibly meticulous ways we legally define it. Meets and bounds, rectangular survey.
It really covers a lot. And thinking about those economic factors, especially modification and Situs, how human action and perception constantly redefine land value. That makes you wonder, doesn't it? Looking forward, how might, say, new technologies, remote work trends, or even, bigger global shifts like climate change, how might those things continue to reshape what makes a location valuable? How might they change our whole understanding of location or Situs in the future?
That's a really interesting thought to leave folks with, something to definitely chew on.